Welcome to the Root of Power podcast, where I teach you how to chase your joy, find alignment, and create a life and a business that you love, using actionable methods, interviews, and inspiring stories from people who know that true freedom is found within. I'm your host, your always hype woman and sometimes ass kicker, Amanda Chills, and I am so proud of you for choosing to step into your power. Come along, we've got dreams to build. Okay, my love, I have put everything that I offer for free on one page so that we are not doing more work than we have to, because why would we do that? Hashtag work smarter, not harder. So livemyhappyhealth.com/free. You are going to find everything I've created for not only leveling up in your personal life and building a life that you love, but leveling up in your business life and building a business that you love. Okay? livemyhappyhealth.com/free. Love you. Hello. Hi. Welcome to this week's episode, where we are talking about how one of the consequences to growth and one of the prices that you pay for admission is that you may outgrow some people. In fact, you very likely will outgrow some people in your life, and that can be sad, right? And we want to acknowledge that not everyone comes with you on your journey, and not everyone is meant to, and not everybody can. So even if you love someone so dearly, if they're not able to support you in your growth, and many people don't know how, sometimes it is a skills deficit. Sometimes they don't want to because it brings up whatever it brings up for them. But along the way on a growth journey, you do end up losing some people, whether you like it or not. And so it's something that I do want you to understand, that you will lose some people along the way. And this is something every single one of my clients experience. Unfortunately, sometimes it looks like their primary relationship, and sometimes it looks like friendships, and sometimes they outgrow their family or they outgrow their parents. I have found that most people stop growing if they went to college. They typically grow through college and then stop. If they never went to college, then it's likely, unless they are committed to their own growth as an adult, that they stopped growing when they were 18, 19 years old. And if you think about this critically, I'm 100% sure that you know some people who stopped growing, and you can imagine some people in their 30s, 40s who act like teenagers. And this would be why. Growth is a commitment to continuing to do the work. And many people, quite frankly, just don't do it. Like, the personal development industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but the vast majority of people are not working on themselves, unfortunately. So when you start growing, when you start healing, you will very likely, it's almost a guarantee really, that you'll outgrow some people. And that can be really sad. And sometimes, my clients say, like, I really love this person, I really cherish this person, and I don't want to lose them. And you don't have to, right? You don't have to cut someone out 100%. You don't have to never speak to them again. But the relationship will likely shift if you're growing and they're not, because there's only so much distance that you can have with someone before it becomes kind of uncomfortable. And that doesn't mean that that person is bad. It doesn't mean anything about them other than they're not growing and you are. And this is just a byproduct of healing, because as you heal your wounds, as you learn how to communicate differently, as you learn to be less reactive and more responsive, as you're calmer, as your energy shifts, it will create some dissonance with those people who perhaps you had some resonance with for a long time. And so here's what I see happen. And here's what I tell my clients is, not everyone can come with you. Quite literally, not everyone has the skill set to do so. And even if they have this skill set, they don't always want to. So kind of a funny thing that happens when people start growing is that they often find that the people who struggle the most with their transformation are typically the people closest to them. And that seems kind of counterintuitive, right? So thank you. They're kind of like, why would this person not be happy for me? Why would they struggle? Why would they try and hold me back? And it's like, well, the people closest to you have known you the longest a certain type of way. And so their idea of you, their experience of you has been one way for perhaps decades. And so now you're shifting that, and that shifts the dynamic, and they can feel the dynamic shift. And for most people, they're very scared of change. So instead of embracing it, they react in fear, which is not helpful, but is a very normal thing that humans do. So if they're not comfortable with change, and again, most people are not, then they will naturally struggle with you changing, especially if they've known you for a very long time, especially if they are scared of growth, if it means you're pulling away, even if you're unintentionally pulling away. Again, it does shift the dynamic, no matter how much you perhaps don't want it to. And people can feel that energetically, even if they can't necessarily name it. So it does, create some distance, and then most people react in fear when that distance comes up, which is not very helpful. So again, what I tell my people is like, their experience of you has been one way for so long that they're struggling to adjust to the new you. So like communicating is going to be so, so, so helpful. And quite frankly, like not everyone is going to come with you on this journey. Now, that doesn't mean that you never speak to them again or you cut them out of your life, which you're always allowed to do. If you hear the horse in the background, that is Leo. He is a very sweet boy, but he's a very loud boy this morning. Not everyone is going to come with you. And that doesn't mean that like you never speak to them again or you don't have a relationship with them. It just means that they may not be the same way with you that they have been for a period of time. And that's okay. We are actually supposed to grow. It's not typical that you have a decades long same relationship with everyone in your life. The point of life is to evolve and grow, which does mean your relationships will do so as well. It can be such a powerful lesson on letting people go and holding boundaries. So what often happens with growth is that people want to help the people they love, right? Because they're learning all these cool new things. And they're like, oh my gosh, if my friends just knew, if my family just knew, if my coworkers just knew these things, then like they would be struggling less too. And that is 100% true, but not 100% helpful, because not everybody knows what you know. Not everybody is learning what you're learning, and not everybody wants to, and not everyone has the capacity to grow in the way that you are growing. So sometimes giving people insight they're not ready for is actually detrimental, and it can be very harmful, because if you give someone a really powerful insight and they don't know what to do with it, you're just creating a problem for them, because now they have this thing that they know, but they don't know what to do with it, and they don't know necessarily how to handle it, which is not kind, nor is it helpful, even though like your intention is to support them, is to help them. So it is such a good lesson in boundaries and patience, because again, not everybody knows what you know or has the skill to implement, even if you tell them. So if you're learning boundaries and you have someone in your life where you're like, well, you just need to set boundaries, and they don't know how to do that, well, that advice is not very helpful. And then, perhaps you risk the chance of them feeling helpless or feeling some type of way because they don't know how to do it. And you're not an expert at teaching skills. You're just giving people what you think would be helpful, which the, you know, the inspiration is lovely. You want to support people that you love, but the implementation is not so helpful. So what often my clients experience is like they have people in their life who would really benefit from the things that they're learning. And they're like, oh my gosh, I want to teach them. Oh my gosh, like this would be so great for them to learn. And it's like, okay, but if people don't want to learn something, you can't force them. And it actually does more damage to do so. And so they learn hella boundaries. they just learn hella boundaries, because if you don't hold the boundaries, you get frustrated, you get resentful, you get all these things that are not helpful at all. Hi, pretty boy. That are not helpful at all. And it just damages relationships more than like having patience and boundaries would, and fully accepting that like everyone is on their own journey and some people don't want to grow. Some people don't want to learn. Now, the other interesting thing that happens with my clients is like they kind of become lighthouses. Like they really start embodying lighthouse energy. And what I mean by that is like they essentially, because their nervous system becomes regulated, because they're calm, because they can think critically, all of these things, like they feel so good to other people that they become a beacon for people who want more of what they're now feeling, which is calm and peace and clarity and freedom. And so they start calling other people home to themselves. And it's such a beautiful thing to witness. And again, it is a balance of like letting people experience what they're experiencing and not taking their journey away from them, because you don't want to enable people and you don't want to push people to do things that they're not comfortable or ready for, because you're just going to create damage, which is not the vibe. So this is something I experienced myself when like I started growing, is like I have left relationships where the partner refused to grow, where they, said they wanted the skills, said they wanted to grow, said they wanted to heal, and then like they weren't doing it. So I was like, you got to go. Like I'm not living my life with a partner, with a friendship, with relationships where they're not willing to do the work. Like, listen, trust. If I am willing and currently outgrowing myself, I have zero issue outgrowing you, because my commitment to growth and to evolution is so strong that if it costs me this relationship where like energetically I'm tethered to one place and I will be capped for whatever period of time I allow that relationship to cap me, it's not worth it. Like, come with me or get the fuck out of my way. And if that means relationships, it means relationships. Like, holding the standard is not always easy. And listen, that lesson did not come out of sunshine and rainbows. Like, that lesson came from pain, and it came from so much dissonance in a relationship that it just ended up being really uncomfortable and not toxic, but very, very, it just soured the relationship and it poisoned the relationship, because I'm growing and outgrowing and outgrowing. And the greater the distance, the greater the discomfort. And what happens is like, eventually you get to a point where it's like, you either stop growing and you give up what you're doing, which is incredibly painful because it puts you out of alignment for the entire time that you're choosing to stay there, to stay tethered to this person and the relationship dynamic as it is. And the greater the gap and the longer you stay there, the more uncomfortable you are. And the universe will keep making you more and more and more uncomfortable so that you are forced to make a decision, which, sucks, which I'm sure, most people have experienced. They're like, yeah, I sat in it and the universe kept progressively getting more painful until I made a decision. And it's like, yes, the universe will 100% do that. And it sucks. It sucks because you keep getting handed greater amounts of pain until you make a decision in service of your growth, or you continue to suffer. And your suffering is not noble. And suffering for a relationship where someone refuses to grow is not noble. It's martyrdom. And nobody enjoys being a martyr, friends. Like literally no one. So I adopted, I mean, I had to, if I wanted to be happy, like the standard of like, listen, you want a seat at my table? Pull up, like create the seat. I will hold the space energetically for you. I will not do all of the work for you. You're welcome at the table, but create your seat, do the work. And if you're not willing to do that, that pretty much tells me everything I need to know. And not everyone gets to come with you. And that's okay, which is really the point of this episode, is to say like, some people are only in your life for a season, and that's okay. Not everyone can go. Not everyone wants to go. That doesn't mean that you have to end the relationship, but it does mean that the relationship will shift over time. And that doesn't make your relationship bad. And it doesn't mean that you don't love them or they don't love you. It just means that everyone has different capabilities and everyone is on their own journey. And I was working with Andrea Crowder for some time, and she has this idea of like a karmic contract. And I thought it was such a beautiful concept. So what she means by that is she's like, listen, my soul has karmic contracts with other souls to be in my life for a certain amount of time and for certain reasons. So who am I to go against the universe? Like, who am I to tell the universe, oh, I know better than you. I know what I'm doing better than you do. So I'm going to force this person to stay when the universe is telling them to move on or to shift. Like, we're not more powerful than the universe, than God, insert whatever belief system you have here. We're not more powerful than that. And so trying to override the universe or God or source energy, whatever you call it, is not possible. So again, the universe will just keep handing you more and more and more problems until you bend to the karmic contract. And I love that because it made it easier. That framework made it easier to let things go, because if they're not for me, they're not for me. And that's okay, because not everyone is meant to be here forever. Some people are just for a season. And it is something that, like, my clients grieve. I mean, anytime there's an ending, it's totally okay to grieve that. And that's okay. And we want you to do that because this person was probably important to you, or these people were probably important to you. These relationships were important to you, clearly, or you wouldn't be sad about them, or you wouldn't work so hard to hold on to them. But if you've ever, like, tried to play tug of war with a bull, or like, you're not going to win, right? Because the bull is so much stronger than you, and the pull to grow is so much stronger than you, that you can't possibly win that. And then it's like, over time, you're playing tug of war with this bull, and the rope gets hotter and hotter and hotter until you let it go and end up burning yourself. And it's just not helpful, right? Like, allowing yourself to let go of people is much more beneficial than holding on to them until your hands burn and you're so exhausted that you can't even function, which is eventually what happens. And sometimes what happens is, like, if people can't come with you, they'll drag you down. Like, they'll intentionally sabotage you so that you stay at their level. That's something that I see, honestly, a lot more often than I would like to, but it's way more common than it's not. Is that when there's this disconnect, people will do anything to avoid the discomfort of, like, one person growing. And so sometimes they'll literally sabotage the person who's growing. And it's really sad to see, but it is something that can happen. So if you're feeling like, I keep doing this, but, like, people are telling me not to follow my dreams, or not to end that relationship, or not to take this job that, like, I really know is going to be so beneficial, then, like, that may be a little bit what's happening. And those people don't have your best interest at heart, which doesn't make them bad people. It just means they're reacting out of fear. But, like, misery loves company, right? That saying is true for many reasons, but also literally because it's true. And sometimes people will hold you back just so they aren't alone, and just so they get to keep you. And that is not someone that you want along for the journey. Like, it's just not. So a lot of this process is also being honest about the people in your circle, and are they actually able to support you? And if they aren't able to, are they willing to learn how as you continue to grow and do the thing? Because it's growth, or it feels like you're dying, right? I can't tell you how many people come to me and they're like, like, something is so wrong. I'm so unhappy. I'm so miserable. Life is so chaotic. And it's like, okay, but where are you stunting your own growth? And as the journey continues, like, where do you need to let go of some people who are not serving you in any way, shape, or form? So, some food for thought, some chicken nuggets to munch on for that. Some chicken nuggets to munch on for that. And I hope that this illuminates some helpful things for you, and helps you think about the people in your life in a different way, because people will either help you or they will hurt you. Or, if they're neutral, that's totally legit too. Like, if some people are just like, yeah, man, do you? That's cool. Like, I don't get it, but I'm here for it. Then that energy is more than welcome. All right, fam. That's all. If this is useful to you, please consider sending it to a friend or leaving us a 5-star review. Leo and I will appreciate it. That's the horse that I've got today, who is doing the most. He'd be doing the most. He is not sitting still. That's okay. I hope that you have the most beautiful day, and I hope that you have people in your corner who adore you and support you. And if you don't, I hope you have the courage to go find them. And if you would like some help with that, holler at your girl. Okay. Love you. Mean it. Bye.